The crystalline chambers of the stellar assembly sparkled under the light of 3 artificial suns, casting rainbow refractions across the gathered delegates from 1,000 worlds. Ambassador Chen Wei stood at the center of the presentation platform, her expression carefully neutral as she gestured to the holographic display of Earth's first interstellar fleet. The Phoenix-class vessels represent humanity's dedication to space exploration and defense, she announced, her voice clear and steady. The hologram shifted, showing the seemingly simple external design of Earth's flagship. Each ship carries a crew of 300 and measures approximately. A lilting musical laugh interrupted her presentation. Ambassador Nexel of the Aldari Concordance raised one of their iridescent appendages. Forgive my outburst, but surely this is some form of preliminary concept. The design appears to lack even basic gravimetric shielding. More chuckles rippled through the assembly. Chen didn't flinch. Behind her, Captain Sarah Rodriguez, Earth's military attaché, maintained an equally composed demeanor despite the growing murmurs of amusement. The Arxian representative, First Speaker Kilax, rose from their crystalline seat. Their multifaceted eyes glittered with barely concealed disdain as they manipulated their own data stream into the central display. If I may, for comparative purposes, a hologram of an Arxian dreadnought materialized beside the Earth vessel, its sweeping lines and ethereal energy matrices making the human ship look decidedly utilitarian. Note the integrated quantum field generators, Kilax continued, highlighting various points on their ship. The photonic resonance chambers, the dark matter containment rings. These are fundamental components of any modern spacefaring vessel. Yet I see nothing of the sort in this Earth design. Chen exchanged a subtle glance with Rodriguez. They had expected this reaction. In fact, they had counted on it. The Phoenix-class vessels utilize alternative approaches to achieve similar results. Chen replied diplomatically. She zoomed in on a section of the hull, displaying what appeared to be simple metallic plating. We find this configuration suitable for our needs. Suitable for your needs. The Meridian delegate's crystalline form vibrated with amusement. Your vessels would barely qualify as short-range shuttles by galactic standards. The power requirements alone for sustainable faster-than-light travel would. We have successfully tested the Phoenix class on multiple extended missions. Rodriguez interjected smoothly. All performance metrics met or exceeded our requirements. The chamber erupted in barely concealed laughter. Even the usually stoic synthetic collective representatives displayed their equivalent of amusement through rapidly shifting color patterns. First Speaker Kilax raised their appendages in a gesture of apparent diplomatic courtesy. Perhaps we should offer assistance. The Arxian Empire would be happy to share some of our more basic ship designs, ones that might help Earth achieve a more reasonable technological foundation. Chen bowed slightly. We appreciate the generous offer, First Speaker. However, we are confident in our current direction. Confidence is admirable. Nexel chimed in, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing with mirth. But there's a difference between confidence and, shall we say, misplaced optimism. These designs lack even the most rudimentary neural interface systems. How do you expect to achieve proper reaction times in combat scenarios? Rodriguez stepped forward, her military bearing drawing all eyes. We have our methods, Ambassador. The subtle steel in her voice gave a few delegates pause, but the prevailing atmosphere remained one of dismissive amusement. As Chen concluded the presentation, whispers and barely concealed chuckles followed them back to their seats. That went exactly as expected, Rodriguez murmured as they sat down. Chen nodded imperceptibly, her lips curving in the slightest smile. Above them, the hologram of the Phoenix-class vessel rotated slowly, its seemingly simple design belying the revolutionary technologies hidden beneath its unremarkable exterior. The humans had learned long ago that sometimes the best place to hide was in plain sight. Let them laugh, Chen thought. They would understand soon enough. 3 standard weeks after Earth's presentation to the stellar assembly, the pristine skies above New Horizon Colony erupted in flames. The Starrider's vessels pierced through the Arxian defense grid like needles through silk, their modified warships dancing past the most advanced shield arrays in known space. First Speaker Kilax stared in horror at the tactical display in their command center. Impossible. Our quantum barriers are certified to withstand. They've adapted their weapons. A tactical officer interrupted, their crystalline form pulsing with distress patterns. The raiders are using our own shield frequencies against us. On the main display, another defense platform winked out of existence. The colony's primary city sprawled below, its gleaming spires now shadowed by the looming shapes of Starrider vessels. Millions of colonists huddled in supposedly impregnable shelter complexes, their safety now uncertain. Status of the response fleet, Kilax demanded. The nearest battle group is calculating their final jump coordinates, another officer reported. Estimated arrival in 4 standard hours. Kilax's appendages writhed in frustration. 4 hours. The colony will be stripped bare by then. They knew the limitations of their technology. Each faster-than-light jump required precise calculations to prevent spatial interference patterns. Rushing the process could scatter a ship across half a sector. The Starraiders knew this too. Their leader's face appeared on the command center's main screen, features hidden behind an elaborate mask that shifted colors like oil on water. First Speaker Kilax. The masked figure purred. Your colony's defenses are impressive, but ultimately futile. We've spent months studying them, learning their rhythms, finding their weaknesses. Did you really think your technological superiority would protect you forever? Kilax drew themselves up to their full height. If you think you can simply. We already have, the raider interrupted. Even now, our ground teams are bypassing your shelter defenses. Your people's wealth will finance our operations for cycles to come, and your vaunted response fleet. The mask rippled with amusement, still plotting their precise course through space-time. No doubt. A new alert flashed across the tactical display. Unknown ships had appeared at the edge of the system. Kilax felt a surge of hope, until they realized these vessels matched no known Arxian design. More of your accomplices, they demanded. The Starraider leader's mask shifted to a pattern indicating confusion. Those errant. The transmission cut off abruptly. On the tactical display, the unknown ships accelerated at impossible speeds, covering the vast distance to New Horizon in mere minutes instead of the hours it should have taken. Analysis, Kilax barked. Sir, these energy signatures. The tactical officer's crystalline form flickered with disbelief. They matched the specifications from the Earth presentation. Kilax's sensory clusters widened. The humans, but their ships were. The next few moments defied everything the first speaker thought they knew about space combat. The Earth vessels, those same primitive designs they had mocked mere weeks ago, moved through space with impossible grace. Their hulls, which had appeared so basic in the assembly presentation, now rippled with complex patterns that somehow scattered the Starraider's targeting systems. Sir, the communications officer called out, their voice trembling. We're receiving a transmission from the Earth fleet. The face that appeared on the screen was familiar. Captain Rodriguez, the military attaché from the presentation. Her expression was professional, but Kilax could swear they detected the slightest hint of satisfaction in her eyes. First speaker, she said calmly, we detected your distress call. The Phoenix fleet stands ready to assist. With your permission, we'd like to demonstrate some of those basic capabilities you found so amusing 3 weeks ago. Kilax stared at the tactical display, where the Starraider ships were already breaking formation in obvious confusion. For the first time in their long career, they found themselves completely lost for words. The Starraider flagship's bridge fell silent as they watched Earth's vessels approach. Their sensors struggled to maintain a lock on the human ships, readings shifting and sliding away like water through cupped hands. Impossible, the Raider's tactical officer muttered, fingers dancing across holographic controls. The hull composition keeps changing. It's like they're made of liquid metal, But that's not. Send them a warning shot, the masked leader commanded, their voice tight with barely contained frustration. Show them what happens to interfering parties. 3 Starrater vessels launched a coordinated strike, their advanced energy weapons converging on the lead human ship. For a brief moment, the space around the Earth vessel seemed to ripple. Then, impossibly, the energy beams curved away, dissipating harmlessly into space. Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled through their communication system, calm and measured. That was your warning. Stand down and prepare to be boarded. The raider leader's mask shifted to a pattern of aggressive defiance. You dare. Our ships outnumber yours 3-1. Your primitive vessels can't possibly. The rest of their sentence died as they watched the nearest Earth ship literally phase through an incoming plasma torpedo. The human vessel's hull had become temporarily translucent, the deadly projectile passing through it like light through glass. How are they doing this? The science officer demanded, their instruments showing readings that defied conventional physics. Their hulls. They're using some kind of metamaterial matrix, but the complexity is beyond anything we've ever seen. On the tactical display, the Earth ships began to move in earnest. Their formations defied traditional space combat doctrine, weaving in patterns that seemed random yet carried an underlying purpose. Each movement flowed into the next with liquid grace, making it impossible to predict their trajectories. First Speaker Kelax watched from their command center, their crystalline form vibrating with astonishment. Those aren't the same ships from the presentation. They can't be. Actually, they are. Rodriguez's voice came through their private channel. We just didn't show you everything they could do. That would have spoiled the surprise. The first speaker watched as one of the Earth vessels executed a maneuver that should have torn any ship apart. It spun on its axis while simultaneously phasing through its own energy wake, using the resulting quantum turbulence to emerge behind a Starrater craft. But the design specifications you showed us, Kelax protested. The simple hull plating, the basic propulsion systems, were exactly what we showed you, Rodriguez replied. We just used them differently than you might expect. For instance, that simple hull plating. It's a programmable metamaterial matrix that can alter its physical properties in response to threats. Those basic propulsion systems, they don't fight against spacetime. They work with it. As if to demonstrate, another Earth ship performed what appeared to be an impossible course correction, its hull briefly rippling with patterns that seemed to bend light itself. A Starrater vessel fired its main weapons array, only to have the beams curve around the human ship's hull and dissipate into carefully controlled quantum eddies. The Starraters learned to bypass our defensive systems, Kelax observed, their voice filled with wonder. But your ships can't be bypassed, because they don't stay the same from moment to moment, Rodriguez finished. Humanity learned long ago that the best defense isn't an impenetrable wall. It's being able to flow like water around any obstacle. The tactical display showed more Earth ships emerging from what appeared to be localized spacetime distortions, their arrival defying conventional faster-than-light physics. Each vessel moved with the same fluid grace, their hulls shimmering with ever-changing patterns that made them appear almost alive. In the colony below, civilians emerged from their shelters to watch the impossible battle unfolding in their skies. Many recorded the scene with their devices, knowing they were witnessing something that would change their understanding of what was possible in space combat forever. The Starrater leader watched in growing horror as their fleet's formation crumbled. Earth's ships moved through space like dancers in a choreographed performance, each motion flowing seamlessly into the next. The human vessels seemed to anticipate attacks before they happened, their metamaterial hulls shifting and adapting to each new threat. Target their engines, the leader commanded, mask cycling through patterns of frustration and rage. They can't dodge everything at once. 3 raider ships launched a coordinated strike against the Earth flagship. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes converged from multiple angles, creating what should have been an inescapable web of destruction. The human vessel's response defied conventional physics. Its hull rippled like quicksilver, creating microscopic spatial distortions that redirected each attack away from critical systems. Fascinating. First Speaker Kilax murmured, watching from their command center. Their defensive systems aren't just reactive, they're predictive. Captain Rodriguez's voice came through the command channel, a hint of pride breaking through her professional tone. We call it the quantum anticipation matrix. The hull's metamaterial structure processes incoming data faster than conscious thought, calculating probable attack vectors before weapons even fire. As if demonstrating this capability, an Earth vessel pirouetted through space, its movements precise and deliberate. A burst of kinetic rounds erupted from concealed ports along its hull, each projectile finding its mark with surgical precision. The targeted Starrater ships didn't explode. Instead, their key systems simply went dark, leaving them drifting harmlessly in space. But how are they achieving such accuracy? Kilax's tactical officer wondered aloud. Our sensors show no traditional targeting systems. The answer came as they watched another Earth ship perform what appeared to be an impossible maneuver. The vessel split its focus between three separate targets, its hull flowing like liquid metal as it maintained perfect positioning relative to each enemy ship. Neural interface systems, the Starrater's science officer suggested desperately. Some kind of artificial intelligence. Something far simpler, Rodriguez explained, her ship gliding through the chaos with elegant precision. We learned to work with space itself, those primitive hulls you mocked. They can detect and manipulate quantum fluctuations in the fabric of space-time. Every movement creates ripples. We just learned to read them. The battle transformed into something more akin to a dance, with Earth's ships setting the tempo. Their formations shifted and flowed, creating patterns that seemed random but served to herd the remaining Starrater vessels away from the colony. Each human ship moved in perfect coordination with its fellows, displaying a level of spatial awareness that made traditional combat doctrine obsolete. Impossible, the Raider leader whispered, watching another squad of their ships power down under precise kinetic strikes. We studied every known combat system in the galaxy. We prepared for everything. That was your mistake, Rodriguez replied, her voice carrying across all channels now. You prepared for everything you knew. Humanity chose a different path, one that no one expected because it seemed too simple to be worth exploring. The Earth flagship executed a maneuver that seemed to bend space itself, emerging simultaneously at three different points around the Raider leader's command ship. Its hull rippled with complex patterns, each section adapting and flowing to maintain perfect tactical positioning. Last chance, Rodriguez announced. Power down your weapons and prepare for boarding, or we'll be forced to demonstrate some of our ship's more aggressive capabilities. The Raider leader's mask cycled through patterns of disbelief as they watched their fleet. The same fleet that had effortlessly penetrated the most advanced defenses in known space, being systematically neutralized by ships they had dismissed as primitive just hours ago. On the colony below, the gathered crowds watched in awe as Earth's vessels continued their impossible dance through space, their fluid movements and adaptive capabilities rewriting everything the galaxy thought it knew about space combat. The grand chamber of the Stellar Assembly hummed with tension as Ambassador Chen Wei stood once again at the central podium. This time, however, there were no laughs, no dismissive gestures. The holographic displays above showed footage from the Battle of New Horizon, Earth's ships dancing through space in their impossible ballet of combat. As you can see, Chen gestured to a frozen image of a human vessel phasing through an energy blast. Our approach to space combat differs significantly from conventional methods. We chose not to fight against the fundamental forces of the universe, but to work with them. First Speaker Kilax rose from their seat, their crystalline form glowing with a mix of humility and curiosity. The technology you demonstrated, it contradicts everything we thought we knew about spatial mechanics. How did your species develop such capabilities? Chen nodded to Captain Rodriguez, who stepped forward with a data crystal. The holographic display shifted, showing the internal structure of a Phoenix-class vessel's hull. Humanity's path to the stars was different from most species, Rodriguez explained. While others focused on generating ever more powerful energy fields to bend space to their will, we studied how space itself behaved. Our scientists discovered that the fabric of reality is far more flexible than previously thought. The display zoomed in on the microscopic structure of the hull plating. What had appeared as simple metal was revealed as an intricate lattice of programmable matter, each molecule capable of adapting its properties in response to its environment. The metamaterial matrix that comprises our hulls, Rodriguez continued, doesn't just protect our ships. It allows them to interact with space-time on a quantum level, reading and responding to the smallest fluctuations in the fabric of reality. Ambassador Nexel of the Aldari Concordance leaned forward, their iridescent appendages trembling with excitement. But the energy requirements for such systems would be minimal. Chen interrupted with a slight smile. Because we're not forcing space to bend to our will. We're asking it nicely, you might say. Our ships don't need massive power generators because they work with natural quantum fluctuations rather than against them. The display shifted again, showing the neural interface systems that had so confused the Star Raiders. Instead of the complex artificial intelligence systems used by most species, Earth's ships utilized a distributed network of quantum sensors, each contributing to a unified awareness of space around the vessel. We discovered, Rodriguez explained, that space itself holds patterns, quantum echoes of everything that moves through it. Our ships don't need traditional targeting systems because they can read these patterns, anticipating where an enemy will be before they even make the decision to move. The chamber erupted in excited discussion as scientists from a dozen worlds began debating the implications. Shen watched with satisfaction as the same delegates who had mocked Earth's technology now frantically took notes. But why? First Speaker Kilax asked, their voice cutting through the chaos. Why show us these simple designs initially? Why allow us to underestimate you? Chen's expression remained diplomatic, but her eyes held a hint of amusement. Humanity has learned through long experience that sometimes the best innovations come from being underestimated. When people dismiss you, they don't watch you as carefully. They don't see the potential in your ideas until it's too late. The holographic display showed one final image, an Earth ship executing its impossible space-bending maneuver, its hull flowing like liquid starlight as it phased through its own energy wake. We didn't develop this technology to prove our superiority, Chen concluded. We developed it because we saw a different way forward. And now, in light of recent events, we're prepared to share our discoveries with the Stellar Assembly. Perhaps together, we can find even more paths that others thought impossible to walk. 3 months after the Battle of New Horizon, the research facility orbiting Jupiter's moon Europa buzzed with activity. Scientists from 24 species worked alongside their human counterparts, each bringing their own unique perspective to the integration of Earth's metamaterial technology with conventional galactic engineering. First Speaker Kilax stood at the observation window, watching as a prototype vessel underwent its first test flight. The ship's hull gleamed with an otherworldly sheen, combining Archean crystal matrices with human metamaterial lattices. Remarkable, they murmured as the ship performed a series of maneuvers that would have been impossible just months ago. The power efficiency is beyond anything we thought possible. Captain Rodriguez nodded, standing beside the crystalline diplomat. Your energy manipulation technology, combined with our spatial awareness systems, creates something entirely new. The whole truly is greater than the sum of its parts. The test ship demonstrated this by executing a perfect quantum slip, a maneuver that combined the Archean's mastery of energy fields with humanity's understanding of spacetime manipulation. The vessel seemed to fold through itself, emerging at a predetermined point with barely any energy expenditure. The Star Raiders did us all a favor, in a way, Kilax observed. Their attack forced us to look past our preconceptions. Without that incident, we might have continued dismissing Earth's contributions for years. In another section of the facility, Ambassador Chen led a group of alien diplomats through the joint research labs. Holographic displays showed the progress of various collaboration projects, from enhanced medical technologies to revolutionary communication systems. The principles we developed for our ship hulls, Chen explained, gesturing to a demonstration of programmable matter, have applications far beyond military technology. Imagine medical facilities that can adapt their entire structure to better treat patients, or communication arrays that can read quantum fluctuations across vast distances. The Meridian delegate, who had once laughed at Earth's designs, now leaned forward with intense interest. The possibilities for deep space exploration alone are staggering. With these combined technologies, we could reach parts of the galaxy we thought were forever beyond our grasp. In the primary engineering bay, human and alien technicians worked side by side, their different approaches to problem solving, creating innovative solutions no single species could have developed alone. A young human engineer explained a concept to her Aldari counterpart, using holographic models to demonstrate how their respective technologies could complement each other. The key was learning to see limitations as opportunities, Rodriguez explained to Kilax as they moved through the facility. When we first reached for the stars, we knew we couldn't match the energy output of more advanced civilizations. So instead of trying to overpower physics, we learned to work with it. The prototype ship outside completed another series of tests, its hybrid hull shifting patterns in ways that reflected both human ingenuity and alien precision. Each movement demonstrated the perfect blend of both approaches, the fluid adaptability of Earth's technology, merged with the refined energy manipulation of galactic standard engineering. We've received requests from 17 different species to establish joint research programs, Chen informed the gathered diplomats. The Stellar Assembly has approved the creation of a dedicated scientific coalition to explore these new possibilities. Outside the station, more test ships moved through their paces, each one representing a different combination of technologies and approaches. Some incorporated Meridian crystalline computing, others featured Aldari organic interfaces, all of them enhanced by humanity's revolutionary approach to space-time manipulation. Perhaps that was humanity's greatest contribution, Kilax reflected, watching the ships dance through space. Not the technology itself, but the reminder that there is always another way to solve a problem. Sometimes the path that seems most primitive at first glance holds the greatest potential for innovation. The emergency session of the Stellar Assembly began at midnight Earth Standard Time. The massive holographic display at the chamber's center showed a disturbing sight. A wave of unknown vessels approaching from the galactic core, their energy signatures off the charts. The objects first appeared 3 days ago, the Meridian chief astronomer explained, their crystalline form pulsing with concern. Their size and speed defy our understanding of conventional physics. Each vessel appears to be roughly the size of a small moon. Ambassador Chen studied the readings with a frown. The unknown ships moved through space in perfect formation, their hulls seeming to absorb all scanning attempts. Behind her, Captain Rodriguez was already running calculations on her datapad. Their technology appears similar to our standard designs, First Speaker Kilax observed, but operating on a scale that should be impossible. The power requirements alone would tear a ship that size apart. Unless, Rodriguez interrupted, her eyes widening as she looked up from her calculations. They found a way to harvest energy directly from space-time itself. Look at the distortion patterns around their hulls. The display zoomed in on one of the massive vessels. Subtle ripples in space surrounded it, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Chen recognized the pattern. It was similar to the quantum fluctuations their own ships created, but magnified 1,000-fold. They're not just bending space, a human scientist announced from her station. They're feeding off the bend. Each distortion creates a cascade effect, generating more energy which creates larger distortions. It's brilliant, but incredibly dangerous. Dangerous how? Kilax asked, their form shifting with anxiety. They're creating microscopic tears in the fabric of space-time, Rodriguez explained. Small enough to be stable for now, but if those tears grow, she left the implications hanging. The assembly erupted in concerned murmurs. The display showed the unknown fleet's trajectory. They would reach populated space within 2 weeks. Traditional defense fleets would be useless against vessels of that size and power. We've detected no response to communication attempts, the Alderi communications expert reported. Either they can't hear us, or they're choosing not to respond. Chen exchanged a meaningful look with Rodriguez. Maybe we're not speaking their language, the ambassador suggested. Not in the conventional sense, at least. Understanding dawned in Rodriguez's eyes. The quantum fluctuations. Our ships can read the patterns in spacetime. If we could scale up the technology. The joint research facility at Europa, Kilax interjected, their crystalline form brightening. The hybrid ships we've been developing. Could we modify them to communicate through spacetime distortions? The chamber's main display shifted to show the latest prototype vessels from the Europa facility. Their hybrid hulls, combining human metamaterial technology with advanced alien engineering, might be humanity's best chance at establishing contact. We'd need to significantly enhance the quantum sensitivity, the human scientist mused. But with the Alderi organic interfaces and Meridian crystal matrices, it could work, Rodriguez finished. But we'd need every available scientist and engineer. And we'd have to hope they're willing to listen. Chen stepped forward, addressing the assembly. 6 months ago, you laughed at our technology. You called it primitive, simplistic, unworthy of notice. But that different perspective helped save lives at New Horizon. And now it might help us face this new challenge. The display showed the massive unknown vessels once more, their impossible size a stark reminder of what was at stake. But now, watching them, Chen saw something the others had missed, a pattern in their movement, a rhythm to the spacetime distortions they created. They're not just traveling, she realized aloud. They're searching. The question is, for what? The combined fleet of Earth and stellar assembly ships held position at the edge of the Oort cloud, their hybrid hulls shimmering with patterns of quantum resonance. At their center, the modified prototype vessel Bridge prepared to attempt first contact with the approaching entities. Captain Rodriguez stood at the command station, surrounded by representatives from a dozen species. The ship's enhanced sensors painted a clear picture of the massive vessels approaching their position, each one drawing impossible amounts of power from the fabric of space itself. Final systems check, she announced. Quantum resonance arrays. Synchronized across all ships, the Meridian engineer reported. The metamaterial lattices are responding perfectly to the Alderi organic interfaces. Crystal matrices are at full capacity. First speaker Kilax added from their station, ready to amplify the quantum signals. Ambassador Chen watched the main display, where the pattern of space-time distortions around the approaching fleet had become clearer. There's definitely a message in those fluctuations. It's like they're calling out to something. The massive vessels had slowed their approach, perhaps sensing the unusual configuration of the waiting fleet. Their energy signatures shifted, the quantum tiers around their hulls stabilizing into more regular patterns. Now, Rodriguez commanded, initiate the resonance sequence. The Bridge and its escort fleet began to move in perfect synchronization, their hybrid hulls generating carefully controlled distortions in spacetime. The patterns matched and amplified the quantum fluctuations they had detected from the unknown vessels, creating a complex dance of spatial harmonics. They're responding, the sensor officer announced. One of the massive ships altered its course, its own space-time distortions changing to mirror the pattern created by the combined fleet. The quantum resonance built between the two groups, layers of spatial harmonics creating something akin to a conversation in the fabric of reality itself. Through the enhanced sensors, they began to understand. They're archaeologists, Chen breathed in wonder. They're searching for remnants of the first spacefaring civilizations. The quantum tiers, they're not weapons or power sources. They're searching tools, looking for traces of ancient spacetime manipulation. The massive vessel nearest to them adjusted its spatial distortions again, and this time the message was clearer. They were indeed seekers of knowledge, having evolved their technology to harness the very essence of space-time in their quest to understand the universe's earliest explorers. The tiers they're creating, Rodriguez realized, they're not dangerous to space-time itself. They're more like quantum archaeology, reading the echoes of events millions of years old. Through the combined technology of humanity's innovative approach and the refined techniques of the stellar assembly, true communication began to flow. The visitors shared images and concepts through carefully controlled spatial distortions, telling the story of their millennia-long search for understanding. They never responded to conventional signals because they've evolved beyond them, Kilax observed. They speak through the fundamental forces of the universe itself. If we hadn't developed our hybrid technology, we might never have understood. The exchange continued, knowledge and understanding flowing both ways. The visitors were fascinated by the unique combination of technologies the combined fleet represented, particularly humanity's intuitive approach to space-time manipulation. And to think, Chen said quietly to Rodriguez, none of this would have been possible if everyone hadn't initially underestimated Earth's capabilities. Our primitive approach ended up being the key to understanding beings far more advanced than any of us. As the first official diplomatic exchange concluded, the massive vessels adjusted their space-time distortions one final time. The message was clear, an invitation to join them in their exploration of the universe's deepest mysteries. The combined fleet moved in perfect harmony, their hybrid technology bridging the gap between conventional space travel and the visitors' advanced quantum archaeology. Together, they began a journey that would reshape their understanding of not just space, but time itself. Humanity had come full circle, from being mocked for their simple designs to helping forge a connection with beings who spoke through the very fabric of space-time. Sometimes, as Captain Rodriguez reflected, the most profound discoveries come from daring to think differently.